A mentoring mindset has a passion for growth. The only guarantee that you and I are going to have a better tomorrow is that we're growing today.
Hi, I'm Chris Godey. I don't know about you, but I know that I love to absorb content. There's so much free content out there. However, one challenge that I do have is that I often struggle to then take that content and put it into practice. I don't change the habits that I need to based off of the video that I've been inspired by. If that's you, I want you to watch this video, and then I would love for you to comment, and we would love to hear your thoughts below.
And they say, no, what I really want to do is I want to serve you. And they do it by adding value to people. They every day serve. I have, in the John Maxwell Enterprise, we have 7 companies. And so I may be in a restaurant and somebody will walk up to me that I don't even know, and they'll shake my hand to introduce themselves, and they'll say, I just got hired by your company. And they'd say, Mr. Maxwell, I work for you. And, I smile and I say, yeah, sit down here with me for a moment. Let's talk. I mean, let me help you. First of all, my name's John. I'm your friend. You don't need to call me Mr. Maxwell. I'm your friend. I said, secondly, you don't work for me. In fact, I work for you. In fact, we work for each other. I don't have slaves. I don't have people working for me. I have people working with me. I'm working with people. We're not enamored by titles. We're not enamored by position. I don't look at you and say, well, I don't work with you. I'm above you. Good Lord, you got to go down and work with the people. No. There's a spirit of adding value. And by the way, you add value to people that you value. So it begins with the fact that we value everybody. And because we value everybody, we add value to people. And so I told him, I said, you don't work for me. I hope sometime I can serve you. I hope I can do something that will make your work even better. And if there is, let me know. And here's my cell number. Just call me if I can help you. Now, this is absolutely huge. Because now on level number 2, we are connected. We are relationally strong. And it gets into the fact that as a leader, level 2, I genuinely care for my people. I was asked to speak a few years ago to the opening session of the United Nations. And when I went to New York City, they asked me to speak to all the ambassadors of the world on leadership. And they said, we're going to give you 2 hours to do that. Well, that was a real challenge. It was a great opportunity, but I asked myself, how am I going to do this? I mean, we're having ambassadors from every country of the world that are going to be in this room. And they come from all kinds of cultures, different, and all kinds of government. I mean, we got democracies, we have kingdoms, we have kings. We got democracy, we have kingdoms, we got socialistic countries. If I want to talk about leadership, I got to get us all on the same page somehow. And I began to ask myself, well, how do I do that? How do I do that? So after giving it a lot of thought, I did a teaching that was really went well at the United Nations. And the teaching was, 3 questions followers ask of their leaders. And I said, this is regardless of country, culture, what kind of government you have. I said, if people are following you, they're really asking 3 questions about you. And you need to be able to answer these questions. And the 3 questions are very simple. Do you care for me? I mean, think about it. Do you really want to follow somebody that doesn't like you? Question number 2 is, can you help me? I mean, the reason that you're on the team, the reason you're following the leader is for that leader to help you. Okay, I have, over the years, I have a practice I'm going to share with you. In fact, I would encourage you to maybe engage that in your life. Every month for 40 years, I have what I call a learning lunch. Very simple. I find somebody bigger, faster, better, smarter, more successful than me, and that's not hard to do. And I just ask them if I could take them to lunch for an hour and a half. And I've had hundreds of these. And it's a learning lunch. I don't even have lunch. I do the learning. They have the lunch. I buy their meal. Because the reason I want to spend an hour and a half with them is I want to ask them questions. In fact, I have 7 questions specifically that I want to ask. Because I want to sit at their feet and I want to learn from them, and I have what I would call a very teachable spirit, and I just say, okay, I want to get better. And I think I'm going to get better with you. Mark Cole, our CEO of the Maxwell Enterprise, our companies, basically loves to teach on the power of proximity. The fact that when you get close to somebody, when you get close to greatness, when you get close to bigger people, what's beautiful about bigger people is they really make you feel bigger than you've ever felt before. Just like, to be honest with you, smaller people reduce you, bigger people enlarge you. And so while we're having the learning lunch, they're eating, I'm asking the 7 questions. Now, one of the questions I ask, as I looked at them, I say, what is the greatest lesson that you've ever learned in your life? And I've had hundreds of answers to that question. But there's one thing over the years, regardless of the person, the background, the profession, there's one thing that answer always has in common. It has hundreds of times. When I ask them, what's the greatest lesson you ever learned? They always, not sometimes, not most times, they always go to a difficult time in their life. They always go to a time when they failed greatly, a time when adversity almost overcame them. They go to the darkest hour of their life, and out of that darkness, they find a principle, a truth, a practice that has absolutely, positively changed their life. Now, this is huge, because I can promise you, if you and I could go out 5 years and look back at 2020, we're going to find that this was a time not only of wilderness, but it was a great time of creativity. It was a great time of advancement, because every opportunity is disguised by a difficulty. That's why so many times we don't seize the opportunity, because all we see is the adversity. But inside of that is the opportunity. It's where creativity is. In fact, what I'm saying to people all the time when they kind of give up hope, I say, there's always an answer. In fact, to be honest with you, there's usually more than one answer. And during these dark times, the time that you're going through right now, it's the time that presses our soul. It's the time where we want to, deliver me. When's it going to be over? When can I get out of it? But let me just say, stay there. Stay on the operating table. Let God finish the surgery. Hold steady. Because I know in your life and I know in my life, there are great lessons to be learned during this time. We don't curse the darkness. We bless the darkness. We embrace the darkness. I happen to have one of my mentors was very well known, Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker was the greatest management guru expert of the last century. And I had the privilege of sitting at his feet. And I'll never forget the last time we were together, he challenged me and he said, John, who are you mentoring? Who are you developing that can carry on the principles and the values that you love, embrace, and live out in your life? And he just challenged me again to make sure that I filled my life with mentoring. He challenged me in such a way is that I after that, I bought a painting, and it's in my office today, in my home office. And wherever I move, that painting goes with me. So it's been with me for a long, long time. And it's an incredible painting. It's not like a beautiful painting. It's not like an expensive painting. But it's a picture of an older brother with a younger brother right beside him. And he's teaching the younger brother how to draw. There you see the painting right before your eyes. And the reason you can see that painting is because I'm in Andrew's studio, and Andrew's absolutely the best, and I gave him that, and he put it up there for us. But can you see the older brother is doing the drawing, but look at the younger brother so intently watching. Now here's what I know. The older brother gets great joy out of showing his younger brother how to draw. But that younger brother, he's going to draw faster and better than he would have if he wouldn't have had an older brother, a mentor, to come into his life and come alongside of him and help him. You know, Malcolm Gladwell is a wonderful author and a terrific friend. And in his book, The Turning Point, he has a phrase he calls the law of the few. And the law of the few, he says, is very simple. It's the leverage that a leader can have in his or her life by investing in a few people. In other words, basically, he says there's an amazing return. There's an amazing return when you begin to pour your life and invest your life in just a few people. And I love that. And that's exactly how I started off in my life, just in a little country church, just investing in a few people. And I began to see the return that happens when leaders invest in other people. So what people say about me today is John Maxwell adds value to leaders, you. And what happens when I add value to leaders? They multiply value to others. And so I'm so excited to share with you a little bit about mentoring and the mindset. And again, all of you that are Maxwell certified team members, thank you. You made this possible for everyone to hear me today. Without you, I wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. But let me just say, the person that invited you to be part of this teaching right now, they did so because they value you and they have a real passion to invest in you and to mentor you and to take you to a higher level than you can go if you just do it by yourself. Remember this, one is too small of a number to achieve greatness. It just is. If you want to achieve greatness, you have to do it with others. So let's talk about mentoring. And one of the things I teach in mentoring is that the word mentor is both a verb, it's something you do, and it's a noun. It's something you are. I love the leadership dance. But going and shifting from soloist to conductor is just an incredible shift in our life. And I tell leaders every day that when you become a leader, your first thought no longer is about yourself. Your first thought is about the people that you lead. Wow. That's what shifting from soloist to conductor is all about. I have an ink pen that's on my desk. It's a marker. It's a yellow marker, but it's a nice one. It's a Mont Blanc pen, so it's not a little cheap yellow marker. It's a very nice pen. It's a gift to me from my inner circle, some of the people that are closest to me. A few years ago, they gave me this yellow highlight pen, Mont Blanc pen, and they had inscribed on the side of this highlighter these words, "You highlight our lives." I thought, man, every time I pick that pen up and I'm marking my book that I'm reading, I'm realizing that just as I'm highlighting the words that come and jump back at me that I'm trying to learn and apply to my life, that I highlight my people's lives. And that's what I want for you. I want you to highlight your fellow teachers, your fellow leaders, administrators in your education system. I want you to highlight your students. I want you to be a highlight in their life. That's when we leadership from soloist to conductor. The second shift I want to speak to you about briefly was by far my hardest shift to make, and that's shifting from pleasing people to challenging people. This is what I call a relational shift. And this was a hard one for me to make because I really wanted to please everybody. I wanted to make everybody happy. I found out that didn't work. But I just thought, I mistakenly thought that a good leader, everybody was happy. I didn't realize that there's no truth in that at all. And I had to go from affirmation of people to what are we accomplishing together as a team. I had to quit asking the question, "Are you okay?" and ask the question, "Are we committed? Are we committed?" And I learned very quickly that you never know what kind of team players you have until you ask for commitment. And so I learned to establish upfront expectations. I learned to sit down and say, okay, since I'm making this shift and I'm going from just trying to make you happy to, to leading you. I could still remember when I wrote the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and I was at a conference speaking, and I was signing that book, the 21 Laws book. And a gentleman came up to me to have me sign his book. And so I start signing, and he said, I disagree with one of your laws. And I said, okay. And I kept signing the book, and I handed it back to him. He didn't move. He just said, I don't think you heard me. I said, I disagree with one of your laws. I said, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's okay. Well, it was okay with me that he didn't agree with one of my laws, but it wasn't okay with him that it was okay with me that I didn't agree with one of his laws. And so he brought it up to me the third time, and I stopped him. I said, okay, I got it. I got it. You don't, you don't agree with one of the laws. It's okay. I said, look, I said, I want you to understand why I wrote the book. I didn't write the book to make you happy. I wrote the book to help you. I'm a leader, not a clown. And it's okay if you disagree with one of the books. You don't even have to apply it. It's like a person says they disagree with the law of gravity.
If you have the privilege of leading a team or an organization, and you would love help with enhancing your leadership culture, maybe even developing some of your high potential leaders, just follow the link on the screen, and we would love to connect with you.
Now, level 3, that's the production level, and the key word there is results, and people now follow you because of what you've produced, what you've done for the company. And at level number 3, you get momentum. And with momentum, most of the problems are solved in the company. Let's put it this way. With momentum, leading is a lot easier. That's why in a sports contest, if one team really gets momentum on their side, what does the opposing coach do? Calls a timeout. Now, why does he call or why does she call a timeout? It's very simple. They're trying to break the momentum of the other team. They're trying to get them out of that rhythm. So level number 3 is where momentum happens. Level number 3, the third thing that happens at level 3, just one more quick thing is you attract better people to you because you produce. Let me explain it this way. Remember when I did in the beginning the law of the lid? And if you were a 5 leader with leadership competence, your company would be a 4. Okay, you got that. In the law of attraction, in my book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, this law of magnetism says you attract who you are, not who you want. Very true law. So here's what happens. If I'm a level 5 leader, I attract 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. What I don't attract to my team is a 9 or a 10. 9s and 10s don't follow 5s, never have, never will. But if I grow as a leader, I get up to a 6 and 7. Every time I grow as a leader, guess what? I attract a better person. So when you can produce, when you have the credibility of a person that gives results to your company, you're going to attract better people to you because it's like the little LeBron James illustration. People want to be on your team. Okay, so let's go to level 4. Now, level number 4 is really, this is the level I really try to get people to go to. I mean, I know there's 5 levels of leadership, but I am very happy if I can get you to level number 4, because level number 4 is the people development level, okay? This is where you develop other people. And the key word at level number 4 is reproduction, okay? Now, people follow you not only because of what have you done for the organization. They not only follow you because they like you, they follow you because of what you have done for them personally. Because now they're a better person because you are a people developer. In other words, they're saying, I can tell you right now, when I came to the company, man, I wasn't very effective at all, but they took me under their wings and they trained me and they equipped me, and now look what I can do. And by the way, great loyalty happens at level 4 because people now look at you and say, personally, you've bettered my life. At level 3, you bettered the organization, but level 4, I'm a better person because of you. So this is a terrific level to be on, And it's really how the company thrives. Because, if I were to ask you, if I could, 2 questions about the success that you have and the success you want your company to have, the 2 questions would ask you is, what are you doing to develop yourself? And that's why I love the theme that you have for it, Nat, of helping people become a better leader. I would ask you, what are you doing to develop yourself? And the second question I would ask you is, what are you doing to develop the people on your team? Now, when you develop yourself and grow, you add. When you develop others, you multiply. And that's the difference between levels 3 in leadership and level 4. A mentoring mindset has several characteristics. Number 1, a mentoring mindset has a passion for growth. The only guarantee that you and I are going to have a better tomorrow is that we're growing today. So when I talk to them about their future, and they say, well, I really hope things really work out well. And I look at them and say, hope's not a strategy. The only guarantee that John Maxwell has that next month will be better than this month is that I'm growing this month. And again, going back to one of my early mentors, Kurt Kampmeyer, when we were having breakfast that day, and he looked at me and he said, John, I just want you to know, I want you to understand that growth is not an accident. You need to grow. And when I did that, I said, I've got to get a growth plan, and I've got to get a mentor. I've got to get somebody that's further down the road than I am that can take me to a whole new level. And so I heard Earl Nightingale say one day that if I would spend 1 hour a day, 1 hour, on the same subject for 5 years, 1 hour every day, same subject for 5 years, that I could become an expert on that subject. And I was passionate in my 20s about leadership, so I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 1 hour every day on the subject of leadership for 5 years. And my thought, because I was just in my 20s, I was a little naive. My thought was, in 5 years, Earl Nightingale says I'll become an expert. So wow, here, I'm on my way to becoming a leadership expert. So every day, an hour every day, 5 years, every day, I'm reading about leadership. I'm talking to leaders. I'm asking questions. I'm practicing leadership every day. And I had this idea because Earl Nightingale said 5 years I could become an expert. So I said, okay, I've got 5 years here. And so I literally started I had a countdown. I finished year 1. I've only got 4 years left before I'm an expert. Wow, I finished year 2, 3 years. And, how long will it take? Well, how long will it take? Well, how long will it take? Well, 5 years. How long will it take? And then something happened just about in the middle of that 5-year period. And the beautiful thing that happened in my life was I was beginning to change. Because I was learning leadership, practicing leadership, meeting leaders, getting in leadership environments, and having opportunities to lead, about halfway into this 5-year journey, I realized I was a better leader and that I was growing and people were following me and my leadership was expanding, and I began to be incredibly overjoyed and fulfilled. And I thought, look at me. Wow, I'm becoming a leader. It was that day I quit asking the question, how long will it take? It was that day I changed, because now I was beginning to grow. That's the result of being mentored. You learn and you grow, and all of a sudden you're better. And the third thing that, wow, I wish I had time on this one, mindset, how we think matters. I think the greatest gap between success and failure is the thinking gap. I wrote a book. It's been very popular. In fact, it's sold well over 1 million copies. It's called How Successful People Think. And it's all about the fact that the thinking patterns of successful people are different than unsuccessful people. I'm not saying successful people are smarter. I'm just saying they think differently. And in fact, in that book, I talk about 11 thinking patterns that successful people engage in that unsuccessful people don't. My father just passed away in 2020. In fact, on July 4th last year. And he was 98 years of age. He was an incredible man, had an unbelievable attitude in his life. He worked full time up to the age of 95. And, it was so interesting. He grew up in a little town in southern Ohio, not too far from Cincinnati, just a little town, very little, very kind of a poor town. In fact, he said there were only 3 families that, in the town that basically had much means at all. And so he did errands for those people, and he came to the conclusion as a kid doing errands for all 3 of those families that the difference between them and everyone else is how they thought. Their mindset really was the difference. And when my father was a young man, with the Depression, everybody was out of a job, but my father wasn't. So men were standing in line for food every day, and my father had 3 part-time jobs during the most difficult time of that Depression. And I said, "Dad, how did you do that?" He said, "Well," he said, "no one had any jobs, so I'd go to the hardware store, and I'd just basically tell the hardware owner, 'I know you can't afford me today, but I love to work. Can I just work for you for free?'" And after the hardware store would get over the shock of here's some stranger that wants to work for him for free and understood he really meant it, he'd give him a few errands. My dad would work hard. At the end of the day, he'd shake his hand and say, "Thanks, I loved working for you today." And by this time, the hardware owner is saying, "I'm so sorry, man, my gosh, I wish I could pay you. You really helped me today." And that's not, no, 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 this is good. I know you can't pay me. It's okay. I just wanted to work for you. And then he would say, if ever you start to kind of recover financially and you have room for maybe a part-time helper, would you just call me? I'd love to work for you. Next day, my dad would go to a different store, do the same thing, a different store. Literally, by the time the first month was over, he had 3 part-time jobs. Now, what's the difference between my dad having 3 part-time jobs and everyone else standing in line for food? It's the mindset. It's how we think. It is absolutely the difference maker. You're not alone on this journey. And let me just say the last thing, step behind the people. There's something about security when somebody covers you behind. There's something about knowing that in your vulnerable position, what the things that you cannot see coming, someone is behind you to see it coming. And it's a beautiful thing. I can still remember in elementary school, many years ago when we'd have our fire drills, we always had 2 people, one in the class that would lead us out. So when the fire bell rang, he or she was the designated visual leader, and they'd lead us out of the classroom and down to the exit and outside. It was always interesting to me. The teacher in our school was the last to leave the classroom. It was kind of like, I'm going to make sure everybody is out, everybody is going to safety before I step out and close the door. That is a beautiful picture of the leadership dance. I'm stepping before you visually so you can be secure in where we're going, and who is leading you is more important than what's before you. I step beside you, which means I'm in a listening posture, asking questions. I'm learning from you. Why? So that I can lead out of your concerns. And I'm behind you. I'm just behind you to making sure that you're okay, that nothing's going to come to you in a vulnerable position where you can't see. And I just want you to know it's all well. I'm backing you up. I've got your back. I love the leadership dance.
If you're like me, you watch a video like that from Maxwell Leadership and you just get inspired. I love how it's so practical. It just makes a lot of sense. But here's the challenge. We have to commit to each other. We have to commit to change, both in our personal lives and also our professional lives. Looking for more information about the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team? Follow the link below to learn more. We can't wait to hear from you and add value to your lives.